Welcome, everyone. This is Pilot Niels, and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at latest LOTRO and hear LOTRO players. And this week, I'm joined by Krister.
Hello.
Cinders.
Hello.
And Sanswinda.
Hello, buddy.
Hello for this week. And I guess this is going to be part 2 of our...
Oh.
We're going through update 45.
Oh, okay. I got a big, giant, cascading barrel of caffeine right next to me right now. I'm going to start sipping on it.
Okay. Well, then, before we go into more of update 45, we actually have some things to read for 45.1. Where we have some various updates in here. Now, I'm going to say the PvMP stuff for when we do PvMP in general. But for miscellaneous updates in update 45.1, the Forester Crafting event will now provide its correct reward. Okay. We have removed the 15th Legendary Items reward track that debuts August 20th from the 32-bit game worlds. We do not want players to begin this track just prior to world closing and have to restart progress on the 64-bit worlds. The 15th LI reward track begins at 10 a.m. on August 20th. Reminder that character creation is no longer available on our 32-bit worlds. So on 32-bit worlds, no more character creation. And number 2 is that when we do have the new LI season, it will not be starting on the 32-bit worlds. It'll just stay on the old one until the end of the lifetime of those servers. Got it? Then let's head into birding updates. The Undoing Eagle and Helmed Mew now properly describe that they can be found in Anorian in addition to the Eastfold. The bird in the hand and handful of bird feed Bobbles now properly display in the collections panel. And the deed, the rarest of birds in Gondor and Mordor, now properly bestows. For the Burglar, a sure thing damage now correctly applies to your current target. Clever Retort's a malicious wound now benefits from damage over time pulse bonuses. Clever Retort now correctly benefits from bonuses to Fellowship Maneuver potency, including those from Burglar signals. So that means even if you're soloing, the Burglar should be carrying their signals around just in case they wanted to use, if they used Clever Retort. And Well-Placed Strike now benefits from critical magnitude bonuses. And Exposed Throat now correctly benefits from single target critical chances and magnitude bonuses. I admit, I had completely forgotten about Burglar signals. I don't know if anyone else has.
I had, but then
make you remember them.
Then I tried to clean out one of my burglar's inventories, and I remembered them very well.
You mean they're taking up 4 of your slots, unless you always use the same signal, of course.
And I didn't know burglars had signals.
They were taking up 8 slots because I was between levels.
You were between levels?
Uh-huh.
So, not quite high enough to use the next tier, but too high for the previous tier, so you carry both sets.
Okay. For the Hunter, King's Foil Healing no longer incorrectly turns into Purge Poison when Bountiful Purge is traded. Thank you. Split Shot now benefits from suppressing stings as intended. Strength of the Earth now requires you to stop moving before using it. I'm sure some people didn't like that. Distracting Shot now correctly interacts with the volley trait. Call to Greatness now resets the cooldown of the Horn of Orome for Yellow Line Hunters. And the trait Perseverance now correctly requires you to first trait Press Onward. For the Mariner, Disarming Strike now correctly reduces the tactical damage rather than the range damage. All right, any questions on any of that? Sounds like a no to me. So let's go on to what the overall revamping of the Burglar was. So yeah, this is where Krister wants to strap himself in and drink the double shot espressos or something like that.
I am working on a new song though. Burglar, burglar, bobbles, bobbles, burglar, burglar. Wait a sec. That's a tongue twister. Okay. Say burger. Oh my goodness. Say burglar bobbles 5 times fast.
Bibble the Burglar burgled Bobbles from Bjornings.
Fine. Use your fanciness and ability to speak.
I'm sure someone could come up with a better one.
Yeah, in other words, I have nothing important to contribute at the moment.
All right, we'll begin. Burglar class traits save configurations have been reset due to changes to the trait trees. I suspect that most burglars have by now already taken care of that little problem. And burglar damage has been increased across the board. Note that some skills have received greater increases than others. Ooh, you mean I'm no longer going to be fighting with butter knives? All right, let's go into the general skills. Addle. Addle no longer becomes improved Addle and thus no longer applies a tactical damage debuff on targets. Subtle Stab. Subtle Stab now has an inherent plus 10% chance to critically hit. Cooldown is reduced to 1 second. Cunning Attack. Cunning Attack bleeds no longer stack with one another. Only the most potent bleed is now active on your target. Devastating hits now apply the same bleed as a regular critical hit. Exposed Throat. Exposed Throat is now a baseline skill earned at level 16. This skill no longer has a chance to start a Fellowship maneuver. Flashing Blades. Flashing Blades is now a baseline skill earned at level 30. Hide in Plain Sight. In content where Hide in Plain Sight was previously disabled, it should now be enabled with a reduced cooldown, and instead of its current effects, it applies 5 seconds of combat stealth. This change means Hiding in Plain Sight does not allow you to break out of combat with any monsters you may be currently engaged. Hiding in Plain Sight's duration in PvP has been reduced by 6 seconds. All right, so what were the circumstances where Hide in Plain Sight was not allowed?
Maybe boss fights?
I guess that's a possibility.
And say last night in Tub, they were talking about using Hide in Plain Sight, and then we're all disappointed that you couldn't use it.
Well, it says that it's available, but at reduced functionality. It sounds like it says here.
That's basically the same as not able to use it.
Oh. Oh, in other words, they were hoping for the old effect.
If you're trying to hips and you no longer can hips, then it's gone away.
They're in combat stealth instead, whatever that means.
Yeah, but that's not like Hide in Plain Sight. That's like new Hide in Plain Sight.
Hide in Plain Sight 2.0, and you don't like 2.0.
It's like cover your eyes instead of Hide in Plain Sight. You know
Ah!
how like little kids, they cover their eyes and think nobody can see them? That's what this sounds like.
Sort of like the Bug Bastard Police that's... Okay, never mind. All right. Purge Corruption. Purge Corruption is no longer a part of the critical response chain. Purge Corruption has a 15-second cooldown, which is reduced to 5 seconds while in critical response chain is active. So even though it's not part of the chain, it still reacts to it sounds like. And this is reflected in the Sharp Eye buff. If Purge Corruption successfully dispels a corruption, it now gives back a critical response to you. This is a lot of interactions with critical response chains for something that's no longer part of the chain. That's
Maybe this is causing the lag. It's trying to figure out where it is in the chain, but it's not in the chain. And the more burglars that are on trying to use the chain, the more the lag stack.
Okay. So it sees this conundrum and is having trouble with it.
I don't know, maybe.
Okay. I guess that's always a possibility. Cunning Attack. Only the most potent Cunning Attack bleed will apply to your target at any point of time per character. Additionally, devastating skill hits will now apply the same bleed as critical hits. Provoke. Provoke no longer provides roll with it damage negation by default, and damage reduction from Provoke is now able to be traded in the Mischief Maker trait tree. Cooldown reduced from 6 seconds to 4 seconds. Ready and Able. This skill has been removed. So you'll no longer be ready or able then?
That is what it would appear.
All right. Riddle. Riddle's base day's duration has been reduced from 30 seconds to 15 seconds. Rude! Touch and Go.
That is very rude.
Yes. Touch and Go. Touch and Go's base cooldown has been reduced from 5 minutes to 2 minutes. All right, good. Sneak. Outside of PvP, Sneak cooldown has been reduced from 10 seconds to 5 seconds. Actually, I found that very useful because I had been getting annoyed with that 10-second cooldown. So
yeah, that was annoying, especially if you killed something fast.
Yeah, it's like okay. Hey, I'm waiting. Yes, Throw Knife. Throw Knife now reduces your target's movement speed by 15%. From Stealth, this debuff is increased to 50%. All critical chain skill cooldowns have been reduced from 5 seconds to 3.5 seconds. And a note on tricks. Tricks are now mutually exclusive, meaning that they will no longer stack with one another, even between multiple burglars. All right, and so which trick is used if multiple burglars try to put on tricks?
Whichever one the server randomly maybe that's the other part of lag. The server has to figure out like which trick to apply.
Whichever one is more tricksy.
Whichever one can convince the game to let it apply.
Oh, okay. So if they all play to a trick, then one of the plays trumps the rest of them for the trick. Sorry, wrong game.
Tricks, double tricks, triple tricks.
Trait specializations. The Gambler. For the Gambler, the following changes aim to update your skill flow to be a little less reliant on stealth and feel a little more distinct from the Quiet Knife, with a focus on gamble effects and bleeds. Gambles should now feel a little more dynamic so that they are not just maintenance buffs, interacting with more than your skills than just they currently do. Importantly, blue and green gambles are now buffs applied to the burglar rather than debuffs applied to your target. So thus, when you have gambles up, they're either going to be red ones, I guess, of course, are still going to be debuffs to your enemy, I presume, or bleeds or whatever they are. And that the green and blue ones then will be buffs to the burglar. Okay. I have to admit, though, I didn't play any Blue Line this week, so I don't know how that would. Did anyone have a chance to play Blue Line Burglar this week?
No.
I have played Blue Line Burglar for precisely 1 day in the whole time that I've played LOTRO, so no.
And that was not this week, I would presume you're saying that.
No, that was a long time ago.
Okay. Surprise Strike no longer becomes Gambler's Surprise Strike. Given the chance to overwrite an existing gamble with a lower tier, the random nature of gamble application chance, and the fact that other gambles are readily applied directly, this effect now only ever served to complicate the gamble set and make this skill worse than the default Surprise Strike to be overall. I mean, that was so. In other words, that was the one case where an improved skill was worse than the baseline skill.
Could be.
Yeah. Hedge your bet no longer applies an effect to your target. Instead, it grants the burglar a heal over time, every 2 seconds for 10 seconds, depending on the roll. Hedge your bet now costs slightly more power. Gambler's Advantage. This skill granting trait has swapped places with Bob and Weave, making it a gambler exclusive skill. Blind Bet. Blind Bet's debuffing gamble is now a beneficial Scrapper's gamble, and its effect applies to the burglar, not to the target. Values ranging to plus 1% outgoing damage and minus 1% incoming damage to 10% outgoing damage and minus 10% incoming damage. I would presume that the reason why they are making some of these apply to the burglar instead is so that they could effectively make it so that they don't stack. Because if multiple burglars do it, is probably one of the reasons for it. Even the odds. Even the odds is now an active skill. Mastery Wide Swings. Plus 3% area of effect damage, Surprise Strike, Cunning Attack, and Subtle Stab becomes an area of effect skills. Evade Rating. In Bleeding Wounds, plus 5% damage over time damage, plus 3 dot pulses. Critical Rating becomes Bad Luck Protection, which is plus 50% gamble tier up chance and plus 2.5% mitigations. And Attack Duration becomes Focused Attack, which is plus 3% single target damage and 10 seconds cash out cooldown. For Double Down, the Double Down trait has swapped positions with overwhelming odds, making it a gambler exclusive trait. Double Down is now an active skill. This tiers up an active damage gamble on your target and rolls a random damaging gamble on surrounding enemies. This has a 40-second duration. Note, Double Down is an attack, and as such, if it crits, the area of effect red gamble application should benefit from the fault 16 from loaded dice. Oh, that's a fault T6, not 16. Okay. Dealings done. Stealth and Surprise Attack will roll a random green, blue, or red tier 6 gamble. Cash out. Cash out has been cleaned out and should now function more closely to how it was originally designed. It will deal more damage depending on the burglar's current blue and green gamble tiers, as well as the tier of your target's red gamble. It will also heal you for more and stun your target for longer, depending on the tier of your current green or blue gambles, respectively. Loaded dice. Loaded dice no longer impacts even the odds, blind bet, cash out, or all in. Instead, gamble application skill with crit now gives a false 6 gamble roll for 6 seconds. Your true gamble roll is revealed after the false 6 roll expires. Okay, so it gives you a temporary 6-level gamble that turns into the actual roll after 6 seconds. Okay. Leafwalker, this trait has been removed. That sounds like an unpopular one. Bob and Weave. Bob and Weave now moved from a gambler exclusive to a buyable trait in the gambler trait tree. Bob and Weave is no longer a random proc effect. Instead, it is now an active skill which grants combat stealth and a heal over time. Overwhelming odds. This trait is now viable in the trait tree in the double down. Overwhelming odds no longer affects fellowship maneuver potency. 3 ranks of this, plus 5% to 20% chance to receive a critical response after successfully using a critical chain skill. Aggravated bleeds. This trait no longer requires points in any prerequisite traits. Bleeding jugular, which is related to exposed throat. This trait adds bleeding jugular bleed to exposed throat. Against the odds, 5 ranks. For each rank, plus 2% area of effect damage. High roller. The effects of high roller would no longer increase gamble applying skill damage. Instead, it will increase the duration of your high rolling gambles. 4 would be plus 1 pulse, 5 would be plus 2 pulses, and 6 plus 3 pulses. A sure thing no longer increases harmful gamble damage. Instead, surprise strike tears down an active gambler's advantage bleed on your target to deal bonus damage. Additional ranks increase the potency of this bonus damage. On a roll, this has 5 ranks. After each kill, the active cooldown of double down is reduced, plus 1 second cooldown reduction per additional rank. All in now also reduces your gamble skill cooldowns to 0.5 seconds for its duration. And finally, Sharp Eye. Sharp Eye now also grants a 2.5 second critical chance while your crit chain is active. Any questions on the blue line? Then let's head into the Mischief Maker. Anyone play with Mischief Maker?
Did you skip the Quiet Knife or did you do that one first?
The Quiet Knife is I? Where?
It was.
I
So
see it right.
Oh yeah, there's the Quiet Knife right there. Let's
I mean,
see.
it was next on my list.
Yes, okay, yes. I have found a quiet. It was in stealth, so I missed it.
As it should be.
As it should be. All right then. Now, anyone play any Quiet Knife burglars then over the last week?
Not this past week, no.
Okay.
I logged one in twice.
But no real change. Okay.
I did not respend my points.
Okie dokie.
So no, I did not play as a Quiet Knife.
Very well then. For the Quiet Knife, the following changes aim to remove your reliance on positional to deal adequate damage, and make it a little easier for you to get critical chains started through skill combos while removing gambles and making your core gameplay more distinct from the gamblers.
Which is interesting. But apparently the Quiet Knife is quite highly sought after for its DPS at the moment.
Oh, it is?
Yep.
Okay. So in other words, the Quiet Knife burglars are potentially liking the changes then.
I don't know if the burglars are, but
well,
it would appear that their damage output has been increased, which is probably a net benefit.
Okay, very well. The Quiet Knife effect has been removed. All right. Fortunately for them, the entire trait tree has not been removed. Knives Out. Knives Out cooldown has been reduced by 30 seconds to account for the improved Knives Out trait being removed. The Knives Out has swapped positions with coup de grace, making Knives Out the capstone trait for the Quiet Knife tree. Okay. Coup de grace. Coup de grace is now granted immediately upon specializing in the Quiet Knife. Coup de grace cooldown has been increased to 45 seconds.
Ouch.
Coup de grace now grants a 6-second buff. Skills act as though you are in stealth, and critical response chain skills become more freely available with reduced cooldowns. And coup de grace will consume a well-placed bleed on a target to deal bonus damage. Okay. Perforate. In place of the advanced Knives Out trait, you gain the skill Perforate. The crit chain skill, step 1, like double-edged strike. And the skill target single target skill making 3 rapid attacks. So Perforate is bing, 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 I guess, then. For Bloodletter, each time you land a critical hit with Perforate, you gain a tier of Bloodletter up to 3. Bloodletter buffs give plus 1% critical chance and plus 2.5 melee damage, and grants bonus damage to Exposed Throat and Flashing Blades. This effect lasts for 15 seconds. And Exposed Throat and Flashing Blades will consume all Bloodletter effects to deal bonus damage. Footpad. Combat stealth speed buff has been doubled from 2 to 10% to 4 to 20%. All right, so that could explain why, let's see, what was that one? Because that can explain why Leafwalker was removed then, because it looks like probably people are going into both trees to make them cumulative. I guess that's probably the reason why they did that. So they just
It
put
didn't
it all
stack
in one.
though.
What?
It didn't stack though. Like you could spend it in both, but it didn't make you any faster than if you spent it in only one.
Oh. I guess they decided, all right, we'll just put into one to get rid of the ambiguity, and they doubled it anyway. Okay.
Well, this sounds like it's combat stealth, though.
Oh.
Not like regular stealth.
Ah, okay. Yeah, this is...
So combat stealth must be operating on a different, or like completely separately from regular stealth.
All right. So you're right.
And may or may not like actually make a monster not be able to see you.
Yeah,
it also may or may not like let you move with any sort of speed, even at 20%. Because like, I mean, I haven't tested this, but like, we don't know how fast combat stealth speed normally is.
All right. Now, I would presume then that the purpose of combat stealth is so that you could get crits on skills that require stealth in order to do extra damage or something.
That would presumably be it, which is not why we used stealth before if we were in combat. So, presumably? I mean, it was like the mini flop.
Okay.
Like, you're about to die, you disappear, they can't kill you. Right?
Yeah.
Minis flop, the mobs all run away after a while. Same basic thing.
Okay.
So I don't know how combat stealth, like, functions in combat, clearly. But, since it doesn't do that, it's presumably to let you do damage from stealth again.
Yeah. Okay. Hidden Dagger. This trait has moved from the 3rd row to the 2nd row of the tree. Stun Dust. This skill granting trait has moved to the 3rd row of the Mischief Maker tree. Okay, so I think we
No more
discussed
stun dust for our quiet knives.
Yeah. So more. So I am sure that we will hear about that when we get to the
Mischief
Mischief
maker.
Maker. Backstab. Backstab now gives plus surprise strike damage 2 to 10% rather than plus positional damage. Okay, I guess that makes
Weird
sense.
that they didn't change the name of it, though. You'd think that instead of calling it backstab, if it has nothing to do with stabbing anything in the back, it would now be called, like, surprise strike. But no.
Oh, well. That's sort of the tricky thing on the whole thing. Flashing Blades. With Flashing Blades being a baseline skill, this trait improves the damage of Flashing Blades. Vital Points. Vital Points no longer reduces your target's critical defense and no longer requires points in Dance of Blades. Instead, second step critical responses chain skills gain a 5 to 15% chance to unlock the skill Well Placed Strike for 6 seconds. Deal significant damage to a single target and leaves your target bleeding. This bleed will be consumed by coup de grace. Well Placed Strike. Deal significant damage to a single target and leaves your target bleeding. This bleed will be consumed by coup de grace.
Coup de grace is hungry.
Yeah. Trip. Trip would move to the Mischief Maker tree.
It would or it did? SSG. I'm guessing it did.
I'm assuming it did. I mean, it does.
It's just their phrasing there. Sorry.
The phrasing is a little bit weird. It sounds like something that they did in their very, very early drafts because it was going to be up in the future and they forgot to change the wording when they got to the release.
Right?
Sneak Attack. Stealth damage bonuses reduced to 10%. Sneak Attack now causes Stealthed Surprise Strike to reduce the cooldown of Coup de Grace and for Stealthed Cunning Attack to reduce the cooldown of Knives Out. All right. Any comments or questions relating to the red line? Well, that seems to be a shorter list than the other two lists, based on what I can see here. So it looks like that whatever they changed, though, did increase the overall damage if people are seeking out burglars for raids. Now,
yeah, or added a different bonus that I wasn't, like, I'm not sure what the extra bonus would be, but it might have done that too.
Okay. Well, then let's go and see what's in the Mischief Maker. For the Mischief... Oh, I guess I first asked the question. I think I asked this last time, but we sort of stepped back after... It says no one here ran a...
I did not run a Mischief Maker Burglar this week.
You didn't run any burglars this week, it sounds like.
No, I got housing decorations out of one of their inventories. And checked my woodworking skills on another one of their inventories. But no, I did not actually run as a burglar this week.
All right. Okay, I did do some running of the Mischief Maker, so we'll just have to go by the impressions I got. For the Mischief Maker, the following changes aim to update your overall kit to better match the effects and potency of Yellow Line Lore Masters and other support specializations. These changes should now clean up some awkward and frustrating skill interactions, such as with skills that currently apply minor and major rent armor. I always have trouble major and minor rent armor. I always forget about rent armor. When specializing in the Mischief Maker, Subtle Stab gains a 2-second cooldown, returning it to a 2.5-second cooldown. And retains a cooldown reduction for Starting Twist, Mischievous Glee, and Clever Retort. Trick, Enrage. Mischievous Glee and Trick Enrage have swapped places, making Enrage a mischief-only skill while allowing any burglar to access Mischievous Glee with sufficient points in the Mischief Maker tree. Enrage's effect potency increases to plus 5% incoming damage, and from stealth, Enrage is now an area of effect skill. Trick, Disable. Disable's effect now has a base potency of 0.9 outgoing damage or 0.85% tactical damage. From stealth, Disable is now an area of effect skill. Well, I guess that's one reason to go into combat stealth then. Reveal Weakness. Reveal Weakness is now an active skill, exclusive to the Mischief Maker. It is a standard melee attack requiring a critical response, step 1, like double-edged strike, to apply temporary debuff increasing your target's incoming damage for 15 seconds. I can already hear Griffith crying. Okay.
Right?
Well. So I think when he says that he always remembers to use Reveal Weakness, I think he was usually saying that semi-ironically anyway. So it's probably that he only remembered it so rarely. Maybe he would not even notice it's missing. No, he's going to be crying because he has to redo all his traits when the next time he logs in. Base potency.
Right? That'll be enough of a problem initially.
Yes. The base potency of Reveal Weakness has been reduced by 1%. A small snag and quite a snag. This skill no longer applies to a root. It also no longer applies the Mischief Maker buff to the burglar. Then what does it do? A small snag will tear up the Reveal Weakness debuff on your current target, making it more potent and causing it to last for 20 seconds. Okay, so therefore, Reveal Weakness and a small snag is now a combo. Disabling Attack. This trait has been removed, and its effect has been rolled into the baseline disable effect. Mischievous Diversion. Diversion becomes Mischievous Diversion, which is usable in combat. This grants combat stealth for 40 seconds. Okay. Oh.
No, with a 40-second cooldown.
Yeah, with a 40-second cooldown. You're right. That's a 40-second cooldown. So now that then, because I did not sink into me the change that was made to diversion. So I was trying to figure out what's this do now? What is it doing anything? Or anything
Why isn't it turning anything around?
Why is it not available when I'm not in the community? It's all these things. It seemed rather. So therefore, that's because it puts you into combat stealth in there, and I guess I should actually go and test out because I completely tested that wrong when I was playing with it this week.
What I want to know is, do you still have to burgle X number of items, regardless of line, for your class deed? And if so, how are you supposed to be doing that without being able to divert attention?
Because I will say that most successful burgers do include a diversion in them in order to work with it. You got a point there. I'm pretty sure that I never managed to complete that deed because I suspect that I may have.
I've been working on it, so I should log in and check.
Yeah, I have a feeling that I have more digits than I have successful mischief diversions. Joke with Legs. This trait now also adds plus 15 seconds to Riddle's day's duration. Counter Defense. A trick for all tastes has been replaced here by Counter Defense. Counter Defense is no longer a trick. and now applies minor rent armor, minus 10% physical mitigation, minus 8% tactical mitigation in an area to affect all around your target. This is a duration of 35 seconds with a cooldown of 30 seconds. All right. And counter defense is no longer a trick, but now applies a minor rent armor. Okay. And
as an area of effect, but presumably only affecting enemies.
I would hope so. Yes. Okay. So in other words, it's something that you could keep on constantly if you really cared about minor rent armor. But that's, as I said, one of those things that I've always forgotten about. Little annoyances. This trait has been removed and replaced with Trickster. Cooldown increased from 60 seconds to 120 seconds. Okay, could you tell me something that might make me interested? And for 10 seconds, all skills act as though you're stealthed and you gain aura, Trick Sanctuary, granting minus 50% attack duration, minus 15% incoming damage, and plus 10% movement speed to allies within 12 meters of you. Okay, so what is the difference between all
Does that help you as well? Because that'd be pretty sad if all your allies started going at plus 10% movement speed and you did not. Just say.
I would hope so. All right. Confound the fools. This trait has been removed. Were there no more fools around to confound?
No, confounding them is just too hard, so we stopped trying.
Okay. Unseen scheme. This is a new skill. In a puff of smoke and a whirl of blades, you rend the armor of enemies around you, deal significant damage, and applies major rent armor for 15 seconds. And which has a 60-second cooldown. It says 15 seconds / 15 seconds, so that must mean that it degrades after 15 seconds into a second thing, or upgrades? So I don't know what the slash is.
Or they divided 15 by 15, and it really only lasts for like 1 second. I don't know.
I hope that's not what it means. And there is a 60-second cooldown. This grants combat stealth. I mean, I hope it's not what it means, because if you divide by 15 seconds by 15 seconds, you get 1. Not 1 second, but 1, because the units cancel.
Oh, that's a good point. Maybe that's causing the server lag. The servers are like, what? What are we supposed to do with this random 1? Major rent armor 1.
Okay. Yes. Practical joke. This trait has been removed. I guess they thought it was a joke. Opportunist. The trait increases subtle stabs base damage plus 5% to plus 25%. And this increases subtle stabs inherent damage, and this trait no longer causes the skill to deal bonus damage to targets with active tricks on them. Impossible target, 3 ranks. Common stealth reduces incoming damage by 5 to 15%. Mischievous glee. Mischievous glee no longer requires an active trick on your target, thank you, nor does it remove an active trick from your target. Counter defense. Counter defense is now a mischief-only trait and is no longer buyable in the tree. Perplexing proposition. This trait has been removed. Vital cut.
Perplexing.
Yes. Vital cut, 5 ranks. Exposed throat applies an incoming healing debuff for 5 to 25% for 12 seconds. Stun dust. Stun dust is now a yellow line trait. Roll with it. This has 5 ranks. This trait causes Provoke to gain the effect Roll with it to negate 10% damage of the next incoming attack. Ranks 2 to 5 increases the negation potency by 5% per tier, so it's a 30% max. Self-adulation. This trait now gives a bonus to all outgoing healing rather than being limited to Clever Retort and Glee. To all what outgoing healing do burglars have other than Clever Retort and Glee?
Apparently, yellow burglars can do some healing now. I don't know if they have more skills for it yet, but
okay. I mean, unless it all... Oh, that's right. It'll also affect Clever Retort, maybe. That's a possibility. Let's see. A trick for all tastes. This is Mischievous Delight. Mischievous Glee becomes an area of effect heal for your fellowships with reduced potency. All right. Burglar's Antidote. When traded, Burglar's Antidote only affects the player's fellowship, not the entire raid.
Rats.
Trip. Trip is now found in the yellow tree rather than the red tree. Appraising Eye, which is now mischief only. A small snag will spread the reveal weakness. Actually, is that mischief only mean it's now mischief only, or that this is a change to Appraising Eye that only affects mischief? Okay. A small snag will spread reveal weakness debuff in a small area around your target if used in an enemy already suffering from the reveal weakness or small snag debuffs. Dust in the Eyes. This skill is no longer a trick and no longer applies a debuff to enemies. Instead, it applies a 15-second daze. Dust in the Eyes still leaves targets slowed and has a 90-second cooldown. A 15-second. So this is effectively a second riddle?
Seems like it.
So I guess it's a riddle to use if you desperately need one, but riddle's under cooldown?
Could be.
That's the only thing that I can figure on that one. Okay. Let's see, where is he? Oh, yes. Clever Retort. Of course. Clever Retort no longer requires or removes an active trick from your target. No longer being dependent upon tricks, Clever Retort instead grants you temporary skills for 15 seconds with a shared cooldown. Guile. This deals damage over time to your target. Strength deals potent damage to your target. Conviction. Restore morale to yourself or an ally. And Spirit. Restores power to yourself or an ally. When used, these skills form a 2 or 3 length personal maneuver, which will apply additional effects when executed if you created a 2-length pair or a 3-length straight. And this now has a 75-second cooldown. Which, at least now, I don't have to say, okay, so which of the tricks do I need to apply in order to get this effect on my Clever Retort?
Right.
So, yeah, so now you get a pop-up skill set that includes the four skills on there. So you just click on them in turn in order to do it. I don't see the maneuver activating when I do. I mean, it looks like the skills are working. I don't think I ever saw the maneuver click on. So it's either doing it quietly instead of because I know that Clever Retort used to do this thing that looked a lot like a fellowship maneuver when you did it. But if it's doing that still, it's doing it quietly rather than showing the burglar activating a maneuver.
Maybe it's doing it on the server.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, it could be doing it it could be doing it quietly so that it won't tax the server any.
Maybe.
Yeah,
or maybe it misfired and actually attacked the server.
Oh, and actually, okay. So I'm going to have to try that again because I did use Clever Retort on a few occasions in there, and I did try a couple of pairs, and I didn't see them activating power. I didn't see it later. I didn't attempt a straight, I think, in any of those things. So I'm going to have to work with that a little bit. All right, and that's it for the yellow line, and it seems to be working. I did take my yellow line burglar through the same missions that I did a week or two ago, where I had the before and after in there. So I did the after when I set up my burglar on the yellow line, or a bit of a greenish burglar, I guess you could say, is what I have in there. And what I did was run through the missions again and compared the results this time to what I had this time. Now, with the hunter, I had these indeterminate results where it looked like on the early ones that I did better, but on the later ones I did worse. On the burglar, it was an improvement all the way through on every single mission. It went through there faster than previously. So it looks like I'm doing more damage. Either that or learning the missions better, one or the other. But I would have gotten worse on the hunter if it were because I was getting to know the missions better. So it looks like a little bit of a plus there. So let's go into the traceries for the burglar. Addle tactical damage debuff becomes trick debuff potency. This tracery now adds up to 3.3% potency to the debuffs and applied by trick, disable, and trick enter. And when they give those the up to values in there, that's for the legendary level in there. I usually think of the baseline as being the cyan, so in other words, the 3%, and you get a 10% bonus for the legendary. That's how I always look at it. For backstab damage, becomes bloodletter potency. This tracery now increases the potency of bloodletter's buffs by up to 38.5%. Chain skills critical multiplier becomes trickster cooldown. This tracery now reduces the cooldown of trickster up to 33 seconds. All right. And coup de grace damage, the maximum potency of this tracery has been reduced to 38.5%. Coup de grace duration and critical chance becomes combat stealth duration. This tracery has been renamed to more accurately reflect the fact that it impacts combat stealth duration from any source, not just that from coup de grace. Additionally, it no longer increases the critical chance of coup de grace. Cunning attack bleed damage, the maximum potency of this tracery has been reduced to 33%. Dust in the eyes mischance becomes dust in the eyes slow duration. This tracery now increases duration of the dust in the eyes slow by up to 11 seconds. Feint attack damage, the maximum potency of this tracery has been reduced to 38.5%. Hedge your bet damage becomes even the odds cooldown. This tracery now reduces the cooldown of even the odds up to 4.4 seconds. Lucky and Gambler strike damage becomes a lucky strike damage and critical chance. This tracery now increases the damage of lucky strike up to 38.5% and critical chances by up to 11%. I have to admit, I did not take a close look at my legendary items, so I probably should check them at some point. Lucky Strike critical chances becomes gamble pulses. This tracery now increases the number of times each gamble effect will pulse by up to 4. Purge corruption damage becomes damage from stealth. This tracery now increases the damage dealt from stealth up to 11%. Reveal weakness incoming damage and range reveal weakness incoming damage. This tracery no longer increases the maximum range of reveal weakness, and the maximum potency of this tracery has been reduced to 2.2%. Riddle range becomes clever retort cooldown. This tracery now reduces the cooldown of clever retort by up to 16.5 seconds. Okay. So you can no longer increase the range of riddle then. So I do like to being able to reduce my cooldown to a clever retort. Surprise strike critical chance and backstab bonus becomes crit chance skill cooldowns. This tracery now reduces the cooldowns of all critical chain skills by up to 1.1 seconds. Surprise strike damage becomes surprise strike damage and critical chance. This tracery now increases the damage of surprise strike up to 27.5% and its critical damage by up to 5.5%. And trick removal damage becomes return strike chance. This tracery now increases the chance that return strike will be triggered up to 27.5%. And that is it for the Burglar. Any comments or questions relating to the Burglar at all?
I was just glad they left my favorite tracery intact.
What's your favorite tracery?
Speed.
Speed, of course.
Yeah, I think it's the stealth speed is what it's called.
Ah, what a shock! I don't know why I even asked. All right.
It was the very first one I got for my very first Burglar. And then I wondered why I was going so much faster than the rest of the Burglars I was running with. Because it was clearly the most useful skill we could have purchased.
Apparently the rest of the Burglars
At least for me.
Oh, well. And of course, your Burglar only had one set of LIs, so it wasn't going to be a case where you would have it equipped for non-raids, but not equipped for raids.
I mean, eventually, if I were raiding with my Burglar, I might be persuaded, but it's just one tracery.
Yeah. Okay. You'll have to find some other way to make up the lost speed, yes.
No. I'll find some other way to make up the lost DPS.
Okay. Of course, I should have known that. Yeah.
Like getting there first and stabbing a few more times.
Stabbing a few more times. All right. Now, for PvMP, we will read that next week. So be all strapped in to go through everything in the Moors, and that's also when we're going to read the 45.1 PvMP section also in there, because they made considerable changes in there, and I suspect that if I try to read them now, we'll be here for another hour. And I don't think we want another one of those shows, right?
Correct.
Oh no, I love them so much.
Oh yeah, I mean, why sleep?
That's right. Continue reading until next Saturday, in fact. We'll make this a week-long thing.
Uh-huh. Right. Now, they also have announced that the Monster Play Reward Track Season 2 has started. I think I noticed something about there's an FAQ in here, and there are some questions here. It seems like there are one or two issues along with the track or anything like that. We'll go over all of those next week, since that's going to be part of the PvP stuff. But I want to at least get out now that they have opened up the Season 2 track. That's assuming that something didn't cause them to close it or anything like that, because I did notice some discussion in there relating to potential issues. So I will suggest that you read whatever, because there is a LOTRO point cost involved apparently in getting the PvP reward season in there, and you certainly want to make sure that you are well informed before you go and buy it. And that is it for the updates on the thing. So let's go into our store sales. Sans, what's on sale this week?
Well, this week, you can stand out from the crowd with 30% off select shared wardrobe, select cosmetic outfit slots, mounted combat trait spec, and select cosmetics. All the way through August 7th. You can also get a free tome of compressed experience with coupon code GOINFAST. That is GOINFAST. Also through August 7th.
And my guardian found that useful.
Nice.
Then, with that done, let's head into our week in gaming. Krister, what were you up to?
Well, last night, a group of ne'er-do-wells who couldn't complete a task, a light shined upon them and descended from the heavens. And that light joined their fellowship, well, their raid. And while joining their raid, they won't admit it. They'll never admit it. But the key to victory last night was the fact that Krister was in the group. And that's all there is to it.
We will.
So great victory was achieved. I was amazing, from what I understand.
Yes, you were.
I gave myself a self rating of above average.
You know, I did notice a blur of amazingness.
It was pretty spectacular.
And I will own up to the fact that I did see that Krister was often the last one to die, which means
that's right.
Survivability was fantastic. And he also saved my character once. So, I mean,
mainly because I was grabbing people and putting it in front of me.
Yes. I hope he wasn't the main tank or anything like that.
No, I was the main tank, but he did an excellent job helping keep me up. So, which in turn kept him up. And he did at one point have to res me.
As long as he continuously say that monsters don't hit me, hit her. So did the raid last night. That was a lot of fun. And my favorite part, of course, was when Glory declared at the end of it, "You got the thing that I wanted." And I was like, "That's right." And so I had to get it out, show it, and say, "Oh, it's so beautiful." And then in front of her, I threw it in the trash.
What?
Kidding. But anyways, I had fun.
Wait, you mean it wasn't fellowship tradable or anything like that?
No, this was something that went directly into our wallet. What was that, by the way, you guys? I'm sorry for being so...
It was some kind of a token. I
think it was a token.
One of the really important tokens that you need for gearing up from the tub raids. And so it went into his barter wallet, so he couldn't actually trash it. But he did talk about trashing it like he was going to.
About trashing.
He was trash talking then.
Yes.
Exactly.
Literally.
So that was a lot of fun. And then this week I was playing I finished Subnautica Below Zero. Fun. If you guys ever are looking for a game that's not only beautiful but terrifying, it is a beautiful game to play. And then I have been getting back into Civ 6 again. I know vaguely out there. Well, I haven't tried Civ 7 yet, and there's no other reason than I've been in kind of a game glut. So I'm just I didn't really have any space, but now that I've been playing Civ 6, I'm interested in Civ 7. And plus, I think Terry and Sans have been talking about actually playing a Civ game, which I'd be totally down for. But I don't recall if you guys were talking about 6 or 7, or if that even mattered to you and Terry at all.
I mean, I don't have 7 yet, so 6 would be the one that I could play.
Okay. Yeah,
but
so I'd be totally down for that.
If we all get 7, that would be fun too.
And I believe we're planning another like New Year's Eve late night game where we all stay up all night.
I mean, that sounds like fun, but we should totally take over the world before then, though.
Oh yeah, as many times as possible.
Now is your term Leviathan then telling you how big this civilization was?
Well, the problem that you guys are going to have with me, is that I probably put about 750,000 hours into Civ 6 or into the Civ games in general. So what I typically do is, if I'm given enough time, I will have a massive bloated empire, and I'll have the most cities in the game. So that's kind of the Leviathan part of it. Is I've reoriented on my Leviathan build, which is, you have 4 cities? Well, I have 75 cities. Because 75 cities does a lot more than 4 cities. You know what I'm saying? Of course, then they get talking a lot because I don't have a military or any type of coherence.
You don't have any agriculture or military, but you've got a lot of cities.
The hope is that I raid enough barbarian villages that they just supply me with my military. But anyways, that was my week. Cinders, what did you get up to?
So I didn't actually end up doing a lot of gaming, but I did do quite a bit last night and this morning. So last night before the tub run, we played with the Academy, and I got to play Hobnanigans for the first time. It was awesome. And then also they had the rotten egg, and when I figured out that what you do with that is you throw it, that was also great. And then we discovered, I did not discover it because I did not do this. Somebody else discovered that you can actually hit your own teammates with the rotten eggs. And that caused quite a bit of consternation last night. But I was very careful, and I did not throw any rotten eggs at Pine Leaf. So Pine Leaf, if you got hit by rotten eggs, it was not me. Somebody else on my team.
Somebody else your own team.
I mostly threw them at Finn. And then, because he was usually the one in my way. Then I did the tub run with Ploy as the main tank. We attempted Wing 1. We got through the first boss once we finally did get a full raid together. We had Krister's help, and a couple of other people joined us at Larwin and Renson, I think. Something like that. I don't really remember. And then we got through the first boss and did all the trash pulls, and then we attempted the second boss, and after the second time of dying, we stopped and decided to go do something else. So we finished off with the Umbar Mok, the basement dailies, and we did a proto run. So that was a lot of fun. And then I did some playing on Dinkum today on the new world that I started like 2 nights ago because it's easier than trying to remember what I was doing on the other ones. But today I died by crocodile when the pot that I have going on the stove boiled over in real life, and I went to save it. I came back and my character was dead, and I got like 150 in the soaking damage little thing, so I had like quite a bit of points to spend when I got back for having been defeated by crocodile. But that was my week in gaming. Sans, how was yours?
Well, I went raiding with Ploy as well last night, and after some deaths, I traded out my hunter for my runekeeper, and took my runekeeper raiding for the first time, so that was pretty fun. And then we were joined by a really well-dressed captain
Dun, dun, dun.
who completely overpowered the enemies with us. That was pretty fun. And Before that, I sent feathers flying on the field trip. So many flying feathers. So many poor chickens.
Poor chickens.
But it was fun. And I finished up my golden pursuit in ESO and got a scribing altar. So that was pretty cool too. And that was pretty much my week in gaming. How was your week, Penleys?
All right, my guardian headed into Mordor, and I acquired an ancient royal scepter. And I was playing a game called You Are the Code, which is a software-oriented game in here, puzzly type game where the idea there is you are trying to put out a certain output from the code. You don't write the code in there, but you have to manipulate which lines get activated. And you have to do this while trying to get the bugs that are in the software to work with you instead of against you. And then I also tried out a new roguelike deck builder that just hit early access called Inkborn. This is one of those roguelike deck builders where where you're going against boss, where you go against various battles, and then eventually you have a boss in it. So that typical type of one in there. And the theme on here is all about paper and writing is sort of the theme on it. So the figures are all origami figures because they're all made of paper in there. So a lot of the skills and the like are all paper references in there. One of the items that you can get in there are known as quotes. So quotes from famous writers. So it has to do with all about then with paper, with ink, with pen, and of course its relationship with writing. And that is my week in gaming. If you would like to contact us, you could send us an email at podcast@lotrplayers.com. And we have 2 shows each week. On Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we record LOTRO Players News and we record DDO Players News when Drac is available. You can choose our shows at lotrplayers.com/live. And that's all for tonight then. This is Pine Needles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.